What causes a hoof abscess, and how can I treat it? You'll get the answers to these questions right now on Becky's Homestead.
I'm Becky. I used to live in the consumer rat race just like you. But one day I had enough, so I sold it all, moved to the country, and built my own log cabin with my own two hands. Now I spend my time discovering new ways to live a simple, healthy lifestyle with more free time and way less stress. Then sharing what I've learned with you. Welcome to Becky's Homestead.
Anybody that owns a horse is certainly capable of treating an abscess successfully. This is a totally do-it-yourself medical situation that you don't need to call the vet and spend $100. You can spend $6 and do this yourself. The vet just gives you instructions anyway to soak it, and they'll tell you to wrap it and try to sell you medicine, try to sell you wrapping, and all that other stuff, which you don't need at all. I've treated many abscesses successfully.
You'll need a shallow pan, water, a hoof pick, a measuring cup, and Epsom salt.
So what I'm going to do is we're going to soak an abscessed foot. So we take the Epsom salt, we get a small shallow pan. We're going to put 2 cups of Epsom salt in this pan. If the hoof had a really bad abscess, I would do 3 or even 4 cups. I would put a lot of Epsom salt in the pan, depending on how bad the abscess is and how far along it is. If your horse is really limping, go ahead and put 3 or 4 cups of, and it's funny because it does all dissolve, and you'll see that in a minute. Even if you put 4 cups in there, it would dissolve. So the shallow pan is the best way to do it because it doesn't need to be deep. But if you're desperate, just go ahead and use anything you have, just so you can soak the horse's foot. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to clean the hoof I'm going to soak. And it doesn't have to be crystal clean, like it can have a little sand or something on it. But what you want to do is get any manure or anything out of the frog area. And you're just wanting to get the manure off it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So there's a little manure right here on his heel, so I'll just try to get that off. Just, you don't want manure in your water. A little sand won't matter. Okay, so like you can see here, just you want to get all that out of there, just so it doesn't get the water all gross. I dig it out good. You probably don't have to get it this clean, but I'm just showing you. Like, I want to get it down to the white to soak it. Now, Pongo needs his feet trimmed, so that's why I want to clean them out really good. Where the abscess starts is a little rock will work its way right here in this crack. There's a crack between the sole and the hoof wall. And what happens is a little tiny pebble, it's not even a rock, or a big grain of sand works its way in there. And then through the horse's hoof pumping, when it steps down, it pushes everything back up the leg, the blood. So that little stone ends up in here in the hoof, and of course it makes an abscess. But where they rupture, and which is very odd, somehow they work their way around to the back. Every abscess I've ever seen rupture, and I've seen quite a few, it's always back here on the heel, right on the hairline. Now, some of these slits, it ends up looking like a slit, like it's peeling, can be that long. on a bigger hoof. I've seen it. And it just like kind of falls away, and it doesn't look very good, but you do want to see that. And once you see that, that's awesome.
What are the parts of a hoof?
Okay, this is the frog. His feet aren't healthy quite yet, so this frog, you want it big and full. You can see how his isn't. This is the sole right here, this white part, and that's kind of chalky. You can flake that off and get that clean and get it down. And then there's a line around here that divides the sole to the hoof wall, and then this is the hoof wall, the outer part. This soft part back here, which isn't hard like the hoof, it's soft, is the heel. Right there. And then the other part of the hoof, right here, you can see a little tiny hump that goes all the way around the bottom of the hairline, where the skin, the flesh, connects to the hard hoof. That's called the coronary band. It's like a little hump, it's a little band. And when you have your horse, you look closely, you'll see it. It's a little more pronounced on some horses than others. Bongo. Okay, so I'm going to stir this Epsom salt up until it dissolves, which it doesn't take long. If your horse has a very severe abscess, you could get warm water from the house, which I have done if the horse has a really bad abscess. So it just takes a second to dissolve. And then what I do is I put the pan where the horse's foot would be if he were standing square, because I want stop licking me. I want the horse to be comfortable. So I'm going to pick his foot up. Come on. And then I'm going to scoot the pan over so he can put his foot right where he wants it. Put it down. And if that happens, who cares? It doesn't matter. The water gets a little dirty. Give him a chance because it's cold. Put your foot down. Good boy. And you got to be patient. Sometimes they spill it and you have to start all over. And a lot of horses do that. They'll just put their toe in it at first. But if you're patient, he'll get tired and he'll stand down. Put your foot down. Good boy. Good boy. Good. Good boy. Put your foot down. Good boy. It's all right. It's all right. Come on, let me have it. So, of course, it's a little sandy, but it doesn't matter. Put your foot down. Now, it doesn't seem like he's ever had his hoof soaked before. Once the horse is used to this, it's absolutely no problem for the horse. They just put their foot down there like nothing. So, a lot of times, the first time, they're just a little iffy. Good boy. Step down. Step down. Good boy. Oh, and put it down in there. Good boy. Step down. So you can't make them. You got to just be patient. There he's going. There he did it. Good boy. There you got it. And then, since you have to leave it, stop. You have to leave it in there like 15 or 20 minutes. You know, if you have a hay bag where the horse can eat hay, and you do have to kind of stay here because if he takes it out, you gotta put it back in there. Bongo, stop it. And you do need to soak it. I like to do it for 15 to 20 minutes, at least 15 minutes. You want him to soak that foot. And that abscess will rupture very quickly. Finish up. He switched. Bongo,
good shot. I got that.
You're so funny. Did you switch? All right. He's taken his foot in and out of the pan a couple times. He hasn't been perfect. Look at the water. It's got little bits and pieces floating around. There's some sand on the bottom of it. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to ask him for his foot back. This time I'm going to move the pan back a little because he moved. Just patiently, just keep putting it back in. Good boy. Good boy. There you go. And the water spills a little bit, but it doesn't matter. It's still deep enough and it's doing the job. Now, if you have a little cement slab or your barn has a floor in it, that is a better place to do it because it won't get dirty and you're in the shade and everything else. Okay, it's been 15 minutes and now we're going to take his foot out, and all you do is just put him back in the pasture. That's all. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to wrap. It's actually not good to wrap. So you just take it out and you're done. Pick up your foot. Pongo. Pick up. Come on. He's like, what is it, up or down? And this water, you don't save it. So I dump it out and start again for the next day. And then you're done. Now, if your horse has a really bad abscess, I would soak twice a day until the abscess ruptures by the heel where I showed you. That might take a day, that might take 4 days, that might take a week, depending on the health of the horse's hoof and how hard the hoof is. The harder the hoof is, the longer you'll have to soak it to soften it up and let that abscess work its way back to the heel. After the abscess ruptures, you're going to soak it 2 more days just to draw out all the pus and infection. You're still not going to wrap the foot. Just take it out of the water and put the horse back in the pasture. Obviously, that doesn't mean a muddy pasture. My sandy pasture would be fine. A stall with thin bedding would be fine. Or a grass pasture is perfect. And then you're good to go.
Sign up for Becky's Homestead newsletter. Go to beckysHomestead.com and sign up on the right. You'll get articles, news, and specials from Becky every month. Unsubscribe anytime, no spam. When can I start riding again? 4
days after the hoof ruptures, have a look at it. It's going to heal quite quickly. As soon as that slit is closed, you can start riding the horse on trails again. If you have a nice arena, you can ride the horse in the arena after you stop soaking the hoof, 2 days after it ruptures. Actually, it's healthy for the hoof to ride the horse.
What if my horse is limping?
It doesn't matter if it's limping. After you soak the hoof, the abscess is moving and it's trying to work itself back around to the heel. That is painful to the horse. It doesn't matter. It's perfectly fine. We've all stubbed our toe or gotten a cut on our foot and we've had to limp. You survive. It's no big deal. It's the same thing with the horse. Just put it back in the pasture and keep up your soaking regime of twice a day for 15 minutes.
Should I give antibiotics?
I have never given a horse antibiotics to treat an abscess. I don't feel they need it. I don't give antibiotics if the animal or the person doesn't need it. So my answer would be no.
What if you won't put his foot in the bucket?
I've never had a horse that I couldn't get its foot in the bucket. I patiently stand there and I get the hoof in the bucket. Because I've never had to treat one of my own horses. I've always treated other people's horses. And they're not trained to stand as nicely as mine and do their feet because I do my feet myself. So I make sure my horses are trained well. When I go to somebody's house and their horse is not trained well and doesn't stand nicely, I'm still very patient and I do get the horse to put its foot in the bucket. That is where the shallow pan does have a benefit and a plus. If you have the shallow pan, it's much easier to get the hoof in the shallow pan, and if they take it out, they usually don't spill it, although sometimes they do. But if you had just the worst horse ever, and you could not get that horse to put its foot in the bucket, I would get a towel, a fluffy towel, just an old towel, but it would be clean. I would do this on a stone floor, a barn or something, even if I had to purchase just one patio paver for the horse to put its foot on, I would put the towel on the ground, put the hoof right in the middle of the towel, I would bring the towel around the hoof and just wrap it with duct tape. Not tight, you know, just to hold the towel up there. Then I would get a cup and just kind of spoon the water onto the towel so the towel is soaking wet. And still stand there and make the horse stand there nicely. And as soon as the towel looked like it was drying out just a bit, I would spoon more water onto the towel. That would be my alternate way of doing it if the horse would not behave at all.
My horse has hoof cracks, thrush, and an abscess. What should I fix first?
Let's just say you just rescued a horse or you purchased a nice horse, but it has really bad feet. What you're going to do is don't worry about the crack right now. The first thing you have to treat is the abscess, because the abscess is an infection. The crack is not an infection. The crack is probably a little bacteria growing up in there, or a fungus actually is what it is. And I'm going to do a video on how to treat that in the future. So the abscess is the most urgent, so treat that first, and then you can work on the crack and the thrush next. Thrush is quite simple to treat. Just keep the horse's hoof clean and dry. That is very important if your horse has thrush. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions, please email me and Doodles. Happy homesteading. Bye-bye.